Alright, tuli kugenda tukuchana mugene wesinzigwe kwanga nkuwereza obalije tusakengala olunaku lwalero nga nsonga za Bobiwine omukulembeze w'ekibiina kya National Unity Platform oluvannyuma lw'eggulo nga yakubidwa kanisita eya tear gas n'atwalibwa mu ddwaliro ery'Ensambya. Naye amawulire agavaayo si malungi oluvannyuma lw'okubeera nga Bobiwine yaganye sajjale nti tayagala kukolera sajjale ayina kyeyeraliikiriddemu nti Ensambya ayinza okubeera nga obusajja buno obuli obwa ssemwayo oba obwaki bonna oba obwa poliisi oba obwa jjaati bonna obwa SFC buyinza okuba nga bumusangayo ne bumukola ekyajjabu. Era Bobiwine yasazeewo nti bamusiibule amakya g'olwaliro era bamusiibudde n'adda ewuwe. Ng'era bwe twogerera Bobiwine ali mu ggoba kugenda kuba ng'agenda mu nsi ez'ebweru gyensinga okumanya tayinza okuba agenda America oba ebungereza okulaba nga bamukolako asajjala eyo ng'ebipapa gye babijje mu mubiri gwe abeere nga atereera. Ngenda kuba nga kuweza amawulire mangi ddala era nga Bobiwine twongere omusabira okuba nga yeekuuma nga akyali mulamu. Ngenda kuba nga kuwa obutambi bonna ne baani abavuddeyo ne ebekalakasa bafuutu soja bangi bavumidde ekikolo ekyo. Ngenda kubanga nkuwa obutambi buno bonna. I sign up for now.
Yes, what's up beautiful people? Ekiriwo kati omukulembeze waffe ayagala kufuluma Nsambya hospital tali safe nakamu tali comfortable nacha operation ye gikalingira out Nsambya hospital and abasajja bano bagezaako kidinayinga bagala operation ye bagikalinge out mu Nsambya hospital forcefully. Ekisingo kwase ennaku nti ne mubana byabufuza abeyita nti baffe bagezaako okumupolota kkirize operation ye bagikolere Nsambya ne weewuunya n'oga abantu kibana batasobola ku studying situation abamukubye bennyini nti baba bate bamukolako operation nga waliwo waneeno gwe twalabe yatuga nti bamukuba magazine namba ya masasi ga pistol. That very night yali waka uwe. The next day he was nursing the so-called wounds ewake uwe and omukulembeze waffe ate yebagezaako mu denying ekyo. So that's the situation right now at Nsambya hospital.
Balina ekigendererwa ekyokuteeka Kyagulanyi bamuteekeko insecurity basobole okumugobako abasirikale abafoot soldiers bamuteekeko abasirikale abaabwe nga bwe bakola Ssaabasajja Kabaka yalina abambo waabe babanyigiriza paka we babamuggyako bonna mbuno kakati ebyokwerinda bya Kabaka ne babamuggyako bonna bwe bati abambowa abasajja abakuuma Kabaka waabwe mu nnono ne baba relegating eri
ne bateekawo abaabwe
kati balumwa nnyo olwa assembly y'abantu ba foot soldiers. Kakati baagala bamuteekeko insecurity bagambe kakati bano nawulidde n'abamu kakati tebabaddewo kumukuuma kati twalabye Eddie Mutwe ng'abuuka. Yes, he had to jump away and then return. Yabadde alina okusooka n'abuuka wakati ne katamukuba n'alyoka akomawo n'anyweza mukama we. Kati babadde baagala ntino ateekewo omutwe kamukube. So ebyo byonna by the way abo ba Eddie Mutwe tusana tubeebaze abaana beesaddaaka ne bajja ne baleka emirimu gyabwe gyonna ne bajja ne bakuuma omukulembeze waabwe.
Kati waliwo empulidde mbu osimanyi abadde azannya firimu mbu osimanyi abadde azannya documentary party 2 wolololo manyi bannayuganda baagala kulya nga omuntu amaze kufa ne balyoka batandika okakasa nti ebintu byabadde bya ddala. Gulugambo tyati omuntu bamukubye amagulu mbe badde documentary. Bali mwagala okuwulira kati musajja we Frank Abawo mbu abadde ayagala kujaguza mbu akube n'amazina. Bino ebintu mubyogera mukimanyi nti babirikodinga. Frank Abawo muwulidde alina gy'abadde eyo ng'ayagala kujaguza olwa Bobiwine. Bino ebintu babirikodinga, video bazirikodinga. Ojja kwogera nga oyagala numbers oyagala bakuwanika video abaana bajja kukatereka. Mwe mutambula mu bantu, mwe mutambula ekiro. Mwefula nti mwagala nnyo kabampaani olw'okuba mugenda eggulu mulinda ssente za Salimu Sale muze ku internet mwagala okulaga Salimu Sale nti mwe muli tiimu ye asobole okubawa ku ssente ez'omuwi w'omusolo ze mwagala eggulu. Era olaba bonna abajjaguza olwa Bobiwine omukuba essasi be bantu abagenda eggulu. Be bantu abagenda eggulu abaagala ku ssente za Salimu Sale. Now
I'll be reading comments left, right and center. Every blog buli muntu ayogedde ku kibaddewo ekikangabwa tusaba Bobiwine mukama akusaasire osooka wone bulungi naye Uganda they will never take anything serious. Like Ugandans take literally everything
as a joke. Nange ngaseje mwe mukatinga lero. This is not a joke, guys. I remember even radio mukama Mose Mirembe. Mwadda ne mwogera bichi it is a stunt. Bali mutukola ki yamala kufana mutandiko kutijja. Ne mukobe nyimba bichi. Then when something is really happening, I mean now look at this comment. Like seriously. Ati twagira guno mulembe banage duisi mulembe like everyone is fighting for content. You could see like abantu abade kusindi banda mawulire. Oh buli mwa je amasimu. Agala bamuku. Anyway, twala kusasida eri babi abana ba Bobi bona family abingana nemikwane ba support afina tuli wamu nawe yatwagaliza one bulungi. Ibine bitibiri muna side of team A, team B, team C. Something has happened. This is a human like you. So kusasire mulyoke modde banage mazanya. Again, I've never seen a busy day like this one. Chinatown, Shiba conference. Being a Ugandan is a full-time job. Cover social media, never.
Okay.
I told you now in 1992,
Okay.
they realized first, for us to control people, we first have to reduce their population.
Okay.
Because you cannot control 8 billion people under your rules. They decided and realized the first thing they have to combat population is to control the food. Because you control the food, you control the masses. And that is why you'll notice in this country that a majority of policies that have been happening for the last 10 years are policies that will ensure no one can be able to farm, and it will all lead to what we call complete takeover of food and agricultural practices from individuals to the globalist organizations. Let me make it clear. Their main objective is to control food and food production. So the best way to control food and food production is to ensure production of food is in their hands. But these people are so smart and they realize the only way to do it is not by force, but through policies. So what do? We have to create policies in all these different countries that will ensure we are the guys controlling food. And they started with food production. Today, in this country, a majority of the food we eat are GMO food. These GMO seeds are controlled by the same globalists I'm talking about. The biggest companies in the world, Monsanto, Cargill, DuPont, they're the guys who own all these seeds. During Kiunjuri's time in Uhuru Kenyatta's government, they brought in policies that gave those companies power in this country. They brought in policies and they were able to patent their seeds in this country today. Obina, in Kenya today, it is a crime to share organic seeds with my neighbor. If you're my neighbor and you need seeds to plant, it is a crime for me to give you my seeds, which are not patented. But who are the people who are owning these patented seeds? It's the globalists. So they can decide whether to sell it to you or not to sell it to you. And they'll decide to sell at their own price. GMO seeds are what we call terminator seeds. Once you plant them, you can never replant them.
Sure.
So you have to go back to the supplier and buy from him at his price. Today we are there. How did you reach there? Go and do your research. Check how much a kilo of GMO tomato seeds are. A kilo. The cheapest is 10 million shillings. Go and Google. Best quality is about 70 million shillings. Google. The information is out there. So they are taking us to a direction that will ensure in the next 5-10 years, there is no farmer who can afford to do farming. Look at the games that was played here with fake fertilizer. Can you anticipate the food shortage that will be here by end of the year? Out of 100 farmers who've done farming this year, Oga, how many will be able to plant next year? Look at the laws that are being put. The other day they proposed another bill to have a bill that anyone who is engaging in agricultural practices must have a certificate or a degree. So what does that mean?
Wow.
You cannot do farming without a certificate. 2 days ago, they introduced another law. It's called the Livestock Bill 2024, which was tabled by Kimani Ichung'wah on Friday. It says it is going to regulate livestock production and livestock input and production in this country. Number one, it will ensure any person is not allowed to process or to produce animal feed without certification from them. And it has a fine of 500,000 shillings. You cannot produce your own food and even sell to your neighbor. Number two, it stipulates it will give regulations to all inputs Inputs, I'm talking of food, I'm talking of medication, everything. We will have a guideline. And if you use anything other than the input, you feed them what they don't want you to feed them, there is a fine of 1 million shillings or 2-year jail term. Number 3, it proposes introduction of new institutions to govern this activity. There's what we call livestock marketing board. There's what we call livestock and livestock product organization. There's another one called veterinary vaccine organization, all to control this affair. In addition to that, because you will need licenses to do all these activities, it is proposing to create institutes where people need to go, learn, and have certificates. We'll have the Livestock Institute, we'll have the Beef Production Institute, we'll have the Dairy Production Institute, we'll have the Beekeeping Institute, and we'll have the Vaccine Institute. So all those are resources, but all those are pillars to ensure this thing is implemented. So tell me, how many people will be able to do livestock farming? And this livestock farming, it regulates cows, goats, sheep, bees, chicken, pigs, even camels. To whose interest is it? A few weeks ago, they had brought in another policy to say that all freehold properties, neighboring towns, should now start paying levies. How do you define a town? A town is defined as an area with a population of about more than 2,000 people. Do you know in Kenya, any town is any market is same as a town because it has 2,000 people and above. So it means basically the entire country, there will be no longer what you call freehold titles. You will be forced to pay what? Levies. So how many people will be able to pay? It means in the long run, a majority of Kenyans will lose their land. They proposed again to transfer powers from the National Land Commission to the minister. So the minister will decide every 10 years, the minister will decide the levies you're supposed to pay on your property. So it is gearing towards the agenda of land takeover and food production takeover. But it's like the government does not understand where they're being led to. And these policies are not policies implemented here. These are policies given to us by these organizations, globalist organizations. These are policies pushed towards this country by these organizations to their main advantage. And the main advantage is total takeover of food production and land. So once they take over your land and they're the ones selling you food, they're saying before 2030, an individual should not eat more than 16 kilos of meat. Before 2030, an individual should not eat more than 90 kilos of dairy product in a year. They're saying before 2030, motor vehicles should be reduced in the sense that only 200 cars must be shared with about 1,000 people. So it's a big agenda and it's heading towards the 2030 agenda. But Kenyans are still sleeping, Oga. Most of these politicians who are implementing and passing these bills do not even read those bills. So it is time our politicians need to wake up. Roles of MPs are oversight, legislation, and representation. Those three. So once you take over all that land, because Kenyans are not able to afford farming, Kenyans are not able to plant or keep cattle or own land, what do? You need to relocate them. And that is why the government is building new housing projects. These politicians forget that they are also in the menu. You know, they think they're on the table.
Yeah.
They are also in the menu. And in fact, it will be more painful for them because most of them are the ones stealing and buying huge chunks of land. All that land will go. The ultimate goal is to take over the entire land and ownership of property from individuals to big corporations. So politicians should wake up and understand that they are also in the menu. They are not punishing us. They are punishing themselves and their kids and their generations and the generations of this country of ours, Kenya. These implementations that are taking place, can you imagine someone like you're not even aware. And I want you to go do your research. Kenyans, we are putting our energies in the wrong and focusing on the wrong things. We have a problem, Oga.